Imagine waking up one morning thinking everything in your life is secure: your job, your home, your family, and then receiving a letter that changes everything. A letter from the US government telling you that your citizenship has been canceled. After 25 years of living in this country, after decades of contributing to your community, paying taxes, raising your family, suddenly you're being told that you are no longer a US citizen. Your rights, your security, and even your future in the country are in jeopardy. It sounds unbelievable, and yet it is a reality that some immigrants face. Today, we're going to carefully explain how this happens, why it happens, and what steps you can take if it happens to you. Many people think that citizenship is permanent. They assume that once they become a US citizen, they can never lose that status. But the law allows for something called denaturalization. Denaturalization is the legal process of canceling someone's citizenship. While rare, it can happen even decades after a person has become a citizen, and understanding the reasons, the process, and the consequences is essential for anyone who wants to protect their rights. Let's start with the basics. When someone applies for US citizenship, they must meet several requirements. They must have been a permanent resident for a certain number of years. They must demonstrate good moral character. They need to pass an English and civics test. And they must provide truthful and complete information about their personal history, including any criminal record, previous immigration violations, or other legal issues. Citizenship is not just a formality. It is a serious legal status with responsibilities. Sometimes, after many years, the government discovers that a person may not have met these requirements when they first became a citizen. This could be due to fraud, misrepresentation, or omission of information. For example, if someone failed to disclose a minor legal issue from their past, even unintentionally, that omission could later be considered a form of fraud. The government may then initiate a denaturalization case, arguing that the person was never legally entitled to citizenship. You might wonder how this happens so long after naturalization. There are several ways. Sometimes it happens as part of a routine check or investigation. Other times it could be triggered by a background check for a job, a security clearance, or even by a tip from someone. Let's take a hypothetical example. Imagine someone became a citizen 25 years ago. They had a small traffic-related conviction in their past, which they honestly thought was too minor to disclose. Decades later, authorities discover the omission. Even though the person has lived an honest life, the government can file a denaturalization case. It's important to understand that losing citizenship is not automatic. The government must file a civil lawsuit in federal court. The person has the right to a hearing, the right to legal representation, and the right to present evidence in their defense. This is where legal guidance becomes critical. A skilled immigration attorney can help demonstrate that any omissions were unintentional and that the individual acted in good faith. Legal counsel can also argue that the person has maintained strong ties to the community, has a clean record, and that revoking citizenship is not justified. Consider a real-life example. There was a man who became a US citizen in the early 1990s. He worked as a business owner and raised a family in the Midwest. Many years later, authorities discovered that he had unintentionally failed to disclose a minor criminal conviction from his youth. Despite decades of good conduct, the government filed a denaturalization case. With the help of an attorney, he was able to prove that he had acted in good faith and had complied with all U.S. laws since naturalization. The court allowed him to retain his citizenship, but the process was emotionally and financially draining. It's also crucial to understand what rights are lost if citizenship is revoked. U.S. citizens have rights that permanent residents do not. They can vote in federal elections, apply for federal jobs, travel on a U.S. passport, and sponsor family members for immigration. Losing citizenship can affect all of these rights. In extreme cases, the person could be treated as removable under U.S. immigration law, which means deportation could become a real possibility. This doesn't just affect the individual, it affects their entire family. Children, spouses, and other family members can face complications with visas, inheritance, and legal status. So, what can someone do to prevent this from happening? The first step is always honesty and transparency in your citizenship application. Make sure every piece of information is accurate, complete, and backed by documentation. Keep records of any legal issues, even if they seem minor. If you're unsure about what to disclose, consult an immigration attorney. Legal advice at the time of naturalization can prevent problems decades later. But what if you are already facing denaturalization? The first thing to remember is not to panic. Gather all your records: tax returns, employment history, criminal records, immigration documents, and any proof of good moral character. Letters from employers, community leaders, or family members can also help demonstrate your honesty and contribution to society. The second step is to contact an experienced immigration attorney immediately. A lawyer can guide you through the court process, file motions, and present your strongest case. Timing, preparation, and strategy are critical. It's also important to educate yourself. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS, provides official information about citizenship, denaturalization, and your legal rights. Understanding the process helps you respond effectively and avoid mistakes. Ignoring a denaturalization notice or assuming it will disappear can make the situation much worse. Knowledge and preparation are your best defense. Even though denaturalization cases are rare, they happen. They usually involve fraud, misrepresentation, or omissions in the naturalization process. But many people who face these cases successfully defend themselves with the right legal support. Citizenship is a legal status with protections, and the law provides ways to challenge attempts to revoke it. Another important aspect is the emotional impact. Imagine the fear and uncertainty of suddenly learning that your citizenship is being questioned. It's natural to feel anxious, stressed, or even hopeless. But taking calm, measured steps, gathering documentation, seeking legal help, and staying informed can make a huge difference. You are not powerless. You have rights, and the law is on your side if you use it correctly. Let's consider another example. A woman who had been a U.S. citizen for over 20 years discovered that the government had concerns about a minor omission in her application. She had lived in the U.S. since childhood, raised a family, and worked as a nurse. With the guidance of an immigration attorney, she was able to present a clear explanation and demonstrate decades of law-abiding behavior. Ultimately, the court allowed her to keep her citizenship. This shows that even when mistakes happen, there are legal avenues to protect your rights. It's also worth noting that the government must act within certain time limits. They cannot pursue denaturalization forever. Delays or unreasonable timing can be argued in court. Experienced attorneys can use these arguments to protect their clients. Every case is unique, and an individualized legal approach is necessary. Preventing issues also means staying organized. Keep copies of all your immigration forms, certificates, and supporting documents. Track any legal or financial matters that may affect your status. If you ever need to prove your eligibility or good conduct, having thorough records can make a big difference. Finally, citizenship is not just a piece of paper. It is your legal status, your rights, and your ability to live freely in the United States. Protecting it means staying informed, being honest, keeping documentation, and seeking professional guidance when needed. Whether you became a U.S. citizen yesterday or 25 years ago, it's always wise to ensure that your records are accurate and complete. Mistakes, even decades old, can have serious consequences. If you found this information helpful and want to stay updated on U.S. immigration law, policies, and guidance, please subscribe to Legal Focus USA. We provide clear, trustworthy, and easy-to-understand information for immigrants and anyone navigating the complex U.S. immigration system. Your citizenship, your rights, and your future are important, and staying informed is the first step in protecting them. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.